Why does anyone do anything?
Is it sex?
What is it that compels the Neanderthal to leave the safety of his home?
Food? Like, are you asking?
And what gives drive to the 30-something degen to live in his mother's basement while playing a 20-year-old video game?
You're gonna keep going, aren't you?
Well, honestly, it's quite simple. It's because...
You're old. That's right. You're old as hell.
Well, it might be a little bit more complex than that. It was 2,000 years ago, back when dial-up was still a thing, and Jesus had just come back to life to spend some quality time with his homies. It was during this sacred time that World of Warcraft was bestowed upon us mortal souls. Everybody who had a computer was playing it, including me, Little Bebo. Oh, look how cute he is.
I didn't know it, but I was about to play one of the most influential video games of all time.
Yes, time seemed to lose all meaning as I would continually grind away at the dead mines for my first blue drop. Everything that I ever wanted from a video game was here, for me, right now. If only I trade away 15 McChickens a month.
$15 a month was a lot back then, especially because most games I played were free to play, like MapleStory.
Even though I had no idea what I was doing, I was having the time of my life. I wasn't min-maxing my professions or 100%ing areas. I was just dicking around and killing mobs, man. And I did that until I hit level 58. And that's where my journey in WoW came to an early conclusion. And I didn't play it again until Classic released in 2019. And holy memory flood, Batman, I was back. That same level of enjoyment that I had in 2004 was here again.
I would say it's my favorite game, but why? Is it just the nostalgia, or is it something else?
That's what I want to talk about. But before that, let's hear from today's sponsor, you, the viewer. Yes, you! If you happen to enjoy today's video, please consider liking or subscribing so we can spread more Bebo Baggins content with the world, or leave a comment saying how much you hate this guy. No matter what, I appreciate your time, and let's get back to the video.
The gaming community as a whole seems to have a bittersweet relationship with nostalgia.
On one hand, we seem to gobble up remakes like Dead Space and Resident Evil 4. And on the other, we say that there's too many remakes and that it's all just rose-tinted glasses. People say things like they could never go back to a time before a dungeon finder, or that 6v6 is an objectively worse format in Overwatch. They're wrong, by the way. 6v6 is better, but the way that I look at it, new doesn't always mean better. For the sake of creating novel experiences, yeah, a game needs to change, a sequel needs to be made, or a system might need to be overhauled. I understand that. Too much of the same thing over and over is a slow, eventual killer of basically every game. Rip Destiny 2.
So how does that make any sense with classic WoW?
If a snapshot of a 20-year-old video game that hasn't changed hardly at all, why isn't it dead? Blizzard themselves were convinced that it was a bad idea.
You think you do, but you don't.
At its core, a game needs to be fun. That's the whole point.
Why would anyone play a shooter? Well, it should be because shooting things is fun. Why do people play ARPGs? Because leveling up and looting is fun.
Wow.
Look at Call of Duty. Infinity Ward figured out in 2003 what makes shooting fun, and they were able to print out 25 more of these suckers because of that. The same goes for Destiny. It only exists today because of the gameplay principles established by Bungie in Marathon and Halo. We don't have to rediscover fire here. And the same thing applies to WoW, with their focus being on leveling, looting, and socializing.
As an MMO, I think classic WoW absolutely nails its social systems.
Just last month, I was questing in the Stone Talon Mountains with an IRL friend of mine. We were on our way to the Windshear Mine to complete the Garinza's Orders quest, only to get completely destroyed. After respawning and heading back, we saw a group of orcs that were just chilling there. Yeah, we helped them out. But when they were done, they stuck around and helped us out too. So what did we do after that? We had a freaking dance party. It's easy to forget how much we rely on matchmaking services for modern games. We queue up, get thrown into a party with a bunch of random teammates, maybe we win, maybe we lose, but it sure as hell doesn't feel like a social experience. Thus continues the endless cycle of uninvested, mute, blueberry teammates.
But why does this problem even exist?
Maybe it's just the inherent insecurity of people that just don't want to ask for help. But from a game design perspective, you literally have to dumb down your game if you want to be able to accommodate for these kind of players. Because if you don't, that super dependable blueberry is gonna rage quit after the first wipe and ruin it for everyone. The reality is that humans are social creatures, and a massive part of our security and happiness comes from social interactions, whether we admit it or not. By forcing players to organically form groups, we create actual connections. Maybe you join a guild because of it. Maybe you just find a cool group of players that make leveling fun. But you're gonna remember that group of dancing orcs, and you're never gonna remember that one random dungeon finder run of Scarlet Monastery you did because it didn't matter. That's the difference.
But what else keeps people stuck to this game?
The leveling experience is the main appeal of classic WoW. It is the driving force of what gets most people to log on. Why do you care about getting to level 9? So you can get to level 10. The devil is in the details and in your behavior. Classic WoW does an amazing job appealing to the human psyche.
For people who don't know, variable reinforcement, a term developed by B.F. Skinner, is when rewards are provided after an unpredictable number of actions. One of his most famous experiments, known as the Skinner box, he would have an animal perform a specific task, such as pressing a lever, and it would receive said reward, reinforcing that behavior. The animal was trained to associate pressing the lever with the reward. During the variable ratio phase, the number of actions required to receive said food pellet varied unpredictably. For instance,
bro, you're so boring, dude. What are you even saying?
Well, I'm getting to it, old bean.
We're talking about RNGesus, random loot drops, random quest items, random crit procs, random resource nodes, randomized stats. Saying WoW Classic is a retirement home may sound hyperbolic, but I think Granny was onto something. But WoW does have one thing that the slot machines don't have, and that's the predictable rewards. You know for sure that every level after level 9, you're gonna get a talent point. And every 2 levels, you're gonna get yourself some new skills. And at level 40, you're gonna get yourself a mount, if you have the gold. Having the feeling of control over your character progression with the excitement of random loot drops, bro, it sounds like meth.
It's no wonder that so many people become helplessly addicted to this formula.
Another component to this is inflation. No, not that kind. I'm talking about power creep. The level cap being as low as 60 is really important. When numbers become too large, damage values too ridiculous, they have a tendency to lose meaning and become uninteresting. You see this plenty of times with a news anchor on TV talking about the government spent $2 trillion on diapers for penguins or whatever the fuck. Like $2 trillion? What is that even? 2 trillion? Like, bro, I got $5. Keeping the level caps low and the damage numbers low means that it's able to perceive differences when you receive upgrades. So when you walk past your starting area and you're level 30 and you one-shot the mob, yeah, it feels good, man.
I remember what you did to me.
I know it's not really like a novel concept or anything, but it's really nice after playing games like Diablo or Destiny where the enemies scale with you.
Just feels like all that work I did doesn't really matter.
In a similar vein, this is also how gear is dealt with. It's not that uncommon for level 60s to not even have any purples equipped, let alone legendaries with how rare they are. And to me, that's a good thing. Have legendary items be, well, legendary. And I get the perspective of people that want more people to be able to enjoy these crazy items, but I would rather the mystique and time investment be there, because that's what makes these items special to begin with. The reason a first edition Charizard is worth so much is because it's rare. It doesn't mean we should reprint a bunch of first edition Charizards just so people can feel better. It bothers me when this isn't respected in games so much. Bro's been playing this game for all of 10 hours and has all legendary gear. Get that shit out of here, man. And set bonuses are always a nice addition. Always welcome in my book.
Rewarding me for my time? Yes, please.
And I do believe that Classic WoW is a special exception to the rules of game design for a couple of reasons. Having so much variance in the ways that you can play, like you can focus solely on PvP, or the fact that factions have unique classes tied to them, or the different combinations of professions you can have. There are years worth of content to explore if you really get sucked in. And that's not even accounting for the expansions. MMOs inherently rely on the social aspect to keep them alive. So they work like a gravitational pull. The more people they already have, the stronger the pull on others who fear they may be missing out. For someone new to come into the space, it would require a tremendous amount of time and money and patience to be able to compete, like Final Fantasy XIV.
People are desperately afraid of wasting their time on a subpar game, even if it means that they have to waste their time on a different flavor of the month.
Of course it's sad to see, but we saw that with New World, as it had its mass exodus after so much hype after launch. You just don't have these same kinds of problems with single player games. Since the time investment is basically known from the get-go, you more or less know you're probably going to spend under 100 hours in Ghost of Tsushima, unless you happen to get hooked in for multiple playthroughs, which can happen. So because of WoW's past meteoric success, it's only natural that it would have the highest amount of retention. Maybe this is just my boomer gamer perspective though, and maybe classic WoW appeals to my 93-year-old soul. But I know this much: if there's one game that I want to spend my golden years in, it's this one. And hey, if you ever find me in Azeroth, just know that I'll be there, questing, grinding, and waiting for my next blue drop. But that just about does it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, and consider liking or subscribing if you made it this far. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you back.